Vessel Hypothetical, a lawyer's perspective. It is 1985. A ship owner and broker decide over drinks at the Four Seasons in New York that the time is right to build a new vessel. After the euphoria of the evening wears off, the question began to swirl. How do we choose the right yard? Have we timed the market correctly? Where will we get the money? We haven't heard too much about our owner's business. He has made a good deal of money in the United States. His business is buoyed by Uncle Sam. He's one of the lucky companies that had successfully negotiated operating differential subsidies ODS with the U.S. Maritime Administration. The U.S. government is contractually obliged to provide this fund to the owner who happen to operate a fleet of primarily U.S. flag vessels in certain desirable liner trade. In 1985, one of these contracts alone is worth up to $2 million per year per vessel. Despite the collapse in the tanker trade, our owner is doing quite well, but his success could easily be eclipsed by making the wrong new building decision. What will the market demand in 2 years? Then this idea finally result in a vessel? Yes, he has an innovative design that he expects will capitalize on commercial demands and military cargo needs in the coming years. However, is he thinking too big? Will speed and propulsion prove to be more important? Will the addition of row ramps increase the marketability? Will the design work? Which yard is best suited to build a high quality vessel efficiently with this unique design? Japan, Europe, Scanyard? This question and many others keep him up at night, but not for long. Soon he sits down with his counsel and they map out a plan of attack to identify the shipyard, negotiate the contract, secure construction and long-term financing, document the vessel and secure her long-term employment. The uncertainty and risk don't disappear, but identifying the moving pieces and developing a timeline for the process make everything seem more manageable. A note on timing. Remember that it is 1985. Before the technology boom, the efficiencies that we enjoy from modern convenience such as email, cell phone, PDF, faxes, texting, and tweets could not possibly have been imagined. Deals took time. Negotiations were handled in person. Contracts were typed. It was not uncommon to create read line or track changes in a document by hand. This work was painstakingly slow, but when compared to today, refreshingly different. Sure, folks spent days, even weeks, holed up in smoky conference room, but they were practicing the almost lost art of face-to-face negotiation. Clients sometimes accompanied the lawyers on these ventures, but more often than not, the lawyers were left to negotiate the best deal for their client. Attorney hourly fees may have risen markedly since 1985, but so has efficiency. It is no longer necessary for one partner to devote the better part of a year to one client's new building project. In this scenario, we will base our estimate of legal fees on the rate of $175 per hour, which was the rate charged by our most senior partner in 1985. Of course, adjusted to $2010, this is really $360 per hour, the billing rate of an associate today. Our owner's company is substantial enough to have a marine architect on staff who travels to various shipyards to evaluate design and capabilities. A smaller owner would have had to hire an outside design firm to handle this project. A Japanese yard is selected based on experience with similar ship design and price. The yard provides general construction terms which are turned over to lawyers so that problems and opportunities may be identified. No discussion of yard selection would be complete if we didn't mention that no matter where the yard is located, it almost always comes with an export credit benefit or construction subsidy. Along with the proposed contract term, the lawyers evaluate this program and their requirement in order to provide suggestions on how to capitalize on the benefit offered. Remember, in 1985, there is no Wikipedia or program-sponsored website for information. There was always a strong undercurrent of information about subsidies. Brokers often had a good grasp of the available term, and local investment bankers might specialize in the export program of the country of build, particularly in Europe. Some governments had well-organized programs, but whatever the program or incentive, the lawyers often had to sift through the information in order to learn the requirements by meeting with the appropriate personnel. In the 80s, Japan wasn't really offering subsidies, but rather the government's plan for nationalizing the shipbuilding industry enabled the yard to offer extremely competitive prices. This is all before the negotiation began. These days, contract negotiations are far less dramatic, with all parties and their counsel sitting behind computers in various corners in the world, exchanging draft and comments by email. In our case, the owner's representative and attorneys get on a plane to Japan. They begin to hash out contract details in a hot and smoky room at the shipyard. The yard proposed a contract based on its standard design. The owner's attorneys revised the contract to reflect owner's specifications and design type. Who bears the risk of faulty design when the yard is building to owner's spec? The lawyers analyze terms, identify problems, and propose solutions that mitigate risk. The yard, hopeful for a contract more in its favor, is eager for the work in 1985 and bends with respect to terms that it might not accept in a better economy. The lawyers of this secretarial pool stays late, typing up contractual term and revision. There is a lot of standing around and sizing up going on. Contract draft and revision are fine-tuned. It is unlikely that this exercise result in a final contract after one meeting. Rather, the scene is probably repeated one or two more times, with some meeting occurring in the state. Finally, agreement. The construction contract is signed and there is an elaborate celebratory dinner. After his team returned to the state, the owner still cannot sleep. This time financing concerns are keeping him awake. Sure, the owner's business success provided him with the liquidity needed for the modest deposit required by the yard. But what about the first progress payment? He schedules visit with his bankers. There isn't too much shopping around. There are only a handful of players at this point, and not many are interested in financing new construction even in 1985 before the market crash of 87. Banking these days was very relationship driven.